If you're considering purchasing the Giraffe Tools Retractable Hose Reel, there are some things that you will want to know. I've had mine for a year and some of my concerns were validated and others were not. But in this video, I'll walk you through all of those details. Let's get right to it. Over the course of the last year, we have used this hose during the warmer months on a daily basis to water the garden that's behind us and the surrounding area. Now, Giraffe Tools promotes that this is a durable, leak-resistant hose, and I've got to tell you, we have had zero issues with the hose itself this entire year. Now, there was one concern that I had regarding the collar that controls how far the hose goes into the casing, and I was concerned that when I moved that collar that the area that had left the marks on the hose was going to cause a problem with the actual exterior coating. You can still vaguely see the marks on the hose, but it has really not caused any issues whatsoever. The plastic nozzle that comes with the hose has actually been really nice. We've only had two real issues with it. The first, which is typical hose stuff, the O-ring where the actual hose goes into the nozzle wears out over time. I had to replace that at the beginning of the season because it was leaking, but otherwise it's been totally fine there. I have also noticed that with some of the settings on the nozzle, it does leak a little bit more than it did when we first purchased it. That was probably just because this thing's been knocked around and it's getting a little beat up as well because we use it so often, but the remainder of the settings on the nozzle are fantastic. One of the things that I've loved about this hose reel is the portability and the ease of me being able to remove the pin, carry this into the garage at the end of the season, and then bring it back out and reinstall it. That's been great. One of the big concerns that I had was the actual casing itself, and I was fearful that it was going to fade. Well, as you can tell, this thing has faded like crazy, and it went from a nice, dark, good-looking gray, even on the bracket, to a light, kind of ugly gray. It doesn't look as nice as it did when we first installed it, but it's still functional. Now, regarding the portability, when I went to put this in our garage over the winter, I did do a decent job of emptying the water out of the hose. Even still, I had some residual water in there, and it did increase the weight as I anticipated that it would, but it was not terrible to move. Now, across all of my social platforms and channels, I've had the most comments on the auto rewind system that comes with this hose reel. As you pull the hose out, the rewind system pulls it, but as you let it back in, you can see that it moves back and forth in order to wind the hose up in a nice, clean, even fashion. A lot of people have been complaining about this, stating that this function specifically has failed for them on their hose reel. We have been ridiculously rough on this hose reel, and I have zero issues with it right now. So your mileage may vary based on how you're using it. Maybe you might just get one with a defective part, I don't know, but I can only tell you that mine works perfectly. And one of the concerns I had when I first installed this was the leader hose, because I don't like the position on the side. I do wish that it came off of the back of the unit itself. It hasn't been a terrible problem with the way that I've anchored this to the post, but when I did install this at the beginning of the season, I didn't tighten this well enough, and as we kept moving it back and forth, it was loosening itself and it started to leak. Since then, I've really put this thing in tight, and we haven't had any issues so far this year. Even considering all of my realized concerns with the fading and the nozzle having a couple of different challenges, I still highly recommend this hose reel. We use this thing all the time. It travels back and forth anywhere we need to go in the yard, and it is super durable. But maybe you're just trying to figure out how to install this hose reel once you purchase it. And for more information on that, click or tap on this video. And until the next time, keep doing it yourself.